Hello Dave is brought to you ad-free by my supporters on Patreon. Become a Patreon yourself and get your name listed as a supporter at the end of every video by following the link in the video description.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hello Dave number 100. This is going to be a little special episode of Hello Dave where I'm gonna answer your questions that you've been asking me over the last couple of weeks. And I really like all the questions you've been asking. There's been a lot of good questions, and I really had to pick some of them out. I tried to take both some serious questions and some little bit more silly questions. And again, I'm not going to be able to answer all of them, but I'm going to try to answer as many of them as I can. But let's dive right into it. The first question I picked out came from both from Derek Rooker and from Commander King Mackenzie, I think. Like that. Anyway, they posted over on Twitter, I believe. It says, how many rabbits do you have, and do you have any other pets? And there was a follow-up comment on that about the rabbits and how does that whole thing started. Now, at the moment, no, we only have I only have the 2 rabbits that we have right now. The whole thing actually started when I met my girlfriend. She had 1 rabbit at the time. And shortly after, we got a second rabbit. Unfortunately, that didn't survive. Got cancer, and we had to take that to the vet. So we got another one, and he also got sick. He got some something with his bones and muscles, so at the end he couldn't walk anymore. So we also had to take him to a vet, and we at that point really decided that we probably just gonna keep that 1 rabbit that we had. But she got mad when she was alone. I mean, she's been a lone rabbit for years. But after she's gotten used to being together with other rabbits, when she was then alone, after a week, I mean, we couldn't get near her. She would just outright charge people that got too close and try to attack them. She got really, really mad. So we decided we had to get a second rabbit. And so that we have again, the black and white one that you can see here, and that's how that whole thing started. And they're quite nice animals. We have them just roaming around free in the apartment. And yes, we also had other animals through the years. There was a period where we had two rats, which is amazing animals. And rats have a bit of a bad reputation, which is really a shame because they are actually really, really good animals for pets. I mean, compared to rabbits, rats are animals that really want to talk to you. They want to, they're very, very social animals. So first of all, if you have rats, you should always have at least 2 of them at a time. But they will always come if you got close to their cage, and they will come. They will talk to you, and they would just love interacting. Rabbits don't. Compared to what many may believe, rabbits don't like being picked up. They don't really like, they like to be if you stroke them and but they don't like being picked up. They don't like to be taken up. They really feel stressed out. And a lot of people, when they get rabbits, they will put them in this tiny cage where they can't really move. And rabbits kept under those conditions will often live for about 2 years. A rabbit care where it has the proper food, it has plenty of room to move around and exercise, and is generally kept under good conditions, can live 10-12 years. Just showing that if you put a rabbit in a small cage, they're not treated as they should. So if you ever get a rabbit, make sure they have plenty of space. Next one is a bit of a silly one. This one comes from Biggie Small. Says, how many thin crust pizzas can you fit in a Class 7 cargo hold? Well, I found that a thin crust pizza, including the box, is 642 grams. A Class 7 cargo hold can hold up to 128 tons of cargo hold, giving us 199,376 thin crust pizzas in a Class 7 cargo hold. The next question is actually several questions that I've been bunched together because they all kind of revolved around the same topic. First, we had Sub 711 who asked what motivated me to do YouTube. We have the Hypothesis who asked what was your childhood dreams or obsessions when you were young? Did they come true, or did you grow out of it? If you had one. And we also have Josh Dusette's what was your first video game obsession. So that kind of all like, it also like fits into the same story. When I was a kid, there was really, at the beginning, there was like two things that really interested me. One of them was dinosaurs, and the other one was space and astronomy and stars and everything outside the atmosphere, pretty much. And it really got to the point when I was 13, I think, my parents gave me my first telescope, and I pretty much known since I was like yay high that space and astronomy was the way I wanted to go. And that meant, of course, all the usual, like you go through like first public school and high school, and I got into universities and studied physics, and I specialized in astrophysics, more specifically in numerical astrophysics, where I did computer simulations of solar flares. I finished my master thesis in 2015, and at that point I had to figure out what to do then. I mean, the number of jobs as working with astrophysics, if I wanted to stay in Denmark, was very limited. There's pretty much, unless you want to go and stay in academia and become a professor, then there's pretty much just a handful of jobs available. So I pretty much knew when I was done that there was very unlikely we're going to find something that that revolved around astrophysics. And at that point, I was sick and tired of academia, so I didn't want to continue down that route. But luckily, when you study physics, you get lots of other, you get a very broad skill set, like basic data handling and data analysis. And I also, due to the route I've taken, I also got quite a bit of knowledge of computer programming. So I took that knowledge and went out, and today I'm working as a software developer or BI consultant, depending on who you ask. But that leads me on to the whole YouTube thing, where that came from. You see, I've always been enjoying computer games, and I think one of the first games that I really enjoyed, or that I remember playing a lot, was Diablo 2. And that is now quite a few years ago, and pretty much ever since I've always been enjoying computer games, various types of games. And when I finished my masters and I got out and got a job as a programmer, I of course needed to do something to keep my interests in astronomy like alive, because I mean I still wanted to do something with it, and I still wanted to keep up to date and do something with astronomy and with all the knowledge that I have of space and astrophysics. So I decided to create a YouTube channel, both because, as I said, I wanted to keep that alive, but also because I got like hella bored when I was looking for a job. I think it took me 3 months to land a good job, and for those 3 months just searching for a job, I was really, really bored. I needed something to do, so that was why I started the YouTube channel. And if you go back and watch some of the very early videos, you will also see that there was a lot more talking about like astronomy programs and talking about astrophysical principles and stuff like that. And then the idea was originally just to splash in a few games here and there whenever it fit. But quickly the gaming became the majority, and especially the Elite Dangerous videos became definitely a big part of the channel, and obviously what's evolved into what it is now, where probably the gaming part is more in focus and the astronomy is taking a little bit of a step back. But it's actually quite, you can actually see, if you go back and look at some of the early videos of when they were uploaded, you can pretty much see exactly when I got my job, because I think for the first probably around 3 months, I guess, videos were released fairly regularly, and then there was I think almost a half-year gap where I didn't post anything, and the channel could very well have died there and then after a few months of uploading videos. But after I got I got a new job, and me and my girlfriend, we were getting a new apartment and moving, so there was a lot going on in that half-year period, meaning that I didn't have much time to play games and definitely not make videos for YouTube. But after everything's kind of settled down a little bit, then I got back into to the YouTube game and started making videos again, and I've done that ever since. Okay, let's move on. Next question comes from Alex Gata, who asks, have I ever been mistaken for Prince Harry? Also, have you thoughts on doing more collaboration videos like the one I did with Yamix? No, I've never been mistaken for Prince Harry. I can see the similarities, but no, never. That's never really happened. And also have a thought doing more collaborations videos. Yeah, I'm always open for good ideas for collaborations if people are up for it. I mean, many of the content creators and YouTubers, we do keep in touch with each other. We have we do talk when news comes out, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes where we discuss various topics when interesting things come up. And sometimes we do collaborations. I haven't been hosting collaborations for quite a while, and it's mainly because I haven't really gotten any the good idea of where it would be natural to get someone in and collaborate with. There are many videos where you could collaborate with someone on a video, but I think it would work better if the whole premise of the video was that you were two people doing something together and then do a collaboration like that. But I mean, I'm open for collaborations if people are interested. Next question is also a quick double one. First question here is, what do you think about Raksha? Should players found it, or should it stay as a mystery? Also, do you think it's already been found, but players don't know what, some players already don't know what Raksha is? And the other question is, do I think that Frontier is laughing their heads off watching us chase our tail looking for Raksha when they put it in the permadelox system? Now, first of all, do I think Raksha should be found? And yes, I do. Because at least eventually, or at least it should be made public eventually, what the whole Raksha deal is. If you look at it, I mean, hopefully many years down the line from now, eventually Frontier will stop updating Elite Dangerous, maybe because they make a follow-up, they make a completely new game, or I don't know. But at some point down the line, the Elite will of course be discontinued. And at that point, there will still hopefully be a lot of mysteries and stuff that we haven't discovered in the game. And of course, Frontier's been putting a lot of effort into these things. And it would be a shame if those things were never revealed, I think. So I think eventually that it should be discovered. And I think if somebody finds it, of course they should go public with it. I don't see why not. And then there's the whole question of if it's in a permadelox system or if it's there at all. There was this leak a while ago that started the whole leak season on Elite Dangerous. And so far those leaks seems to be creditable, but again, we haven't really seen any announcement on the 2020 update yet, so we'll have to still wait and get final confirmation of that. But there was a small edit at the bottom of that post that told a lot of information both about Elite, but also many of the other games that Frontier is doing. It was edited by the original post just saying, oh, by the way, Raksha doesn't exist, or something like that. And I'm not sure. We've discussed that a lot in the content creator group, and I'm not really sure about it. I mean, on one hand, it seems odd if it wasn't there. Then there was the whole interview, or not interview, but I think it was Drew Rager who talked to Braben at some point, and he asked about Raksha, and I think Braben said that yes, it is in the game, and they know where it is. I don't see why he would say that if it's not there at all. I mean, you have to remember this. As I understand it, that situation was more of an informal situation rather than a proper interview. So I don't see why he would say that if it wasn't true. So where Raksha is, if it can't even be located, I don't know. But at least I think if it's out there and somebody knows about it, they should definitely go public with it. We have another quick one here from Derek here, who asks, for your gaming hobbies, do you stick to video games or do you also play board games as well? No, I definitely also play board games. I have a group of friends from back from my time at university, and we still meet up like every other week and play board games. Mostly like role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, and also other types of similar role-playing games. And lately we've been playing a lot of a board game called Terraforming Mars, which, well, as the name suggests, is all about trying to terraform Mars. You play at like different companies, and your job is to be the best company at terraforming Mars. quite fun. Again, as I said, we meet up like every other week and play board games. So yeah, definitely also play games outside computer games. Deeper Darkness asks, here's a random one for you. Do you have any conspiracy theories that you believe, or even just a small part of it? And do you think that might be true regarding space or the space program? I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories, especially not around the space program. I mean, I can't see why people would lie about stuff like this. I mean, I'm pretty sure that obviously there must be something that they don't tell us. Now, I don't think it's something like, oh, we have definite proof of aliens or something like that. But of course, there are things they don't tell us. I mean, you have to remember that NASA is not only a research organization, but they also do develop something for the military. So maybe they have something that they've been working on that since have been taken into military use. And so obviously there must be stuff that they're doing that they're not telling. So, but that's not really a conspiracy theory. It's just like common practice for any company or any entity that of course we have things you don't want to put out publicly. But many of those conspiracy theories are just so dumb that I don't even want to bother with them. Like the fact, let's just take the moon one, for instance. I mean, for instance, it's been tested by so many like separate people all over the globe that people were actually there, and it's quite easy to do, because what they put what's called a corner reflector. Imagine like a corner like a corner in a room, but made of mirrors, and you just have a lot of these corners in like an array. Interesting thing about a corner reflector like that is if you shine a light at it or a laser, it will always bounce back in the same direction as the laser came from. And they put one of those on the surface of the moon, and what people are now doing is they're bouncing lasers off that corner reflector, and they can then use that to measure the travel time of the laser pulse, and thereby they can then measure the distance from the Earth to the moon. And we do that to make fairly accurate measurements of the distance to the moon. The fact that thing is there, to me at least, determines that there has been humans up there, because someone needs to have put that up somewhere. You could argue, well, robots, yada yada yada, but I mean, I have to remember this was in the like, how long time ago? 50 years ago, 70, 60 years, a long time ago now, when the space program was running, and so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have to have people on the moon and stuff like that. So no, I'm not a huge fan of all those space conspiracy theories. Here's a very interesting one, actually. How much time do I spend filming content for the channel, and how much time do I actually spend playing games? So looking at Elite Dangerous, it is a surprisingly difficult question to answer, because it depends how you define filming content. Because if you just look at the time where I have the recording program running, then it's maybe 10% of my in-game time that is spent with the recording program running. But if you also include the time that I spend preparing for videos, like researching stuff, going to different places, figuring out what I want to do, when and where, and basically all the preparation work, then it's probably closer to 80% of my time in-game that is spent on that, like at least vast majority. So again, it really depends on how you define the filming content again. But definitely the vast majority of my time in game is definitely used on working towards videos, and then from time to time I will just say, okay, today I'm just gonna take out my my clipper, I'm gonna go out and mine some void opals and relax a little bit, which also happens from time to time. But the majority of my time is definitely figuring out what the next video is gonna be about. And a lot of the time I would also begin researching into a topic that never ends up being a video. It might that I think, oh, this could be really fun doing a video on this topic, and then when I began digging into it, I realized that there's really not that much to it as I hoped. I had an idea for a video that I wanted to do. As an example, where I was thinking about doing a video on what life would be like living on the different stations in Elite, especially trying to do some calculations on gravity and all that stuff. And like the premise of the video that I went into was I wanted to try to show that the gravity was most likely way off on the stations. And after I began doing the measurements and the calculations, it's actually not as bad as I thought. So the whole premise of the video kind of changed and meant that got postponed a little bit because I need to figure out a new angle if I want to continue that project or if I'm just stitching it outright. I don't know. So a lot of the times I would go out and I would try to say, okay, it could be fun to do a video on this topic. And then I begin to research it. Either it turns out it's not as interesting as I thought it was, or maybe it just didn't work out the way I thought it would at all. And in rare cases, it has happened that I begin recording, that I get to the actual recording part of it, and as I'm just beginning to put actual sentences on the video, this doesn't feel right, something's off, and then the video might just be scrapped there. Which is hopefully obvious. I don't do scripts for my videos. I don't write out every single word of what I'm going to say. I write bullet points to myself, and if I have like numbers and figures or things that I had to like pre-calculate, if there's some amount of math in there, I will always do that beforehand, and then I will just have that on the screen so I can quickly reference it if I need. But to go back to the original question, how much time I spent, well, yeah, again, it depends. But if we look at the time that I spent working towards making a video, then it is by far the majority. Okay, and the final question for today, because this already has been a very long Hello Dave, comes from Paul here, says, quick question for Hello Dave 100. Do you think that David Braben should be making more video vlogs like he used to when the game first started, keeping the community informed about upcoming improvements / upgrades, why things have had been talked about / promised are now either delayed or no longer happening? We've not seen anything from Braben for years, and it feels that the community relied on him to make the game happen. He should still be checking in with updates at least once a quarter. So this is actually quite an interesting question as well, and this is of course why I decided to include this. I think if you have to remember that Frontier as a company has also changed a lot over the last 4 years. I think back when Elite started, when they started making Elite, they started the original Kickstarter, Frontier was, there's a lot of game studios out there that just gets hired by larger studios to do parts of a game, or maybe a full game, but at least do something as part of a game. And I'm pretty sure Frontier development was that at that point. So they would be hired in, they would do something for another company, and they now wanted to make their own games. And they would then they then started the Kickstarter for Elite. I believe that is what happened back then. So when that whole thing started, Frontier was a very much smaller company than it is today. And that also meant that Braben, being the head of the company, had a lot more, he could devote a lot more time to the sole project, like the big project at least that the company had, which was Elite Dangerous. And that's also, of course, why you would see him in the beginning as being a lot more involved in communicating with the community. But of course, as the company has been growing, he would probably have had a lot more time he needs to spend on the whole managing side of it, making the large scale decisions for the company, and probably doesn't have that much time anymore to go into the individual games and make decisions on whether like one thing or the other should be implemented into the game. I mean, there are probably people for that now, and you can argue for or against whether that's a good idea or not. I think it's a pretty common thing you would see when companies begin to grow, that the people who may have been very passionate, and probably still is very passionate for what the company is doing, but down the road they will get less and less time to actually like work with the product itself, and it'll be more and more of a managing position that you get. That being said, of course, Frontier could still use Braben because he has, I think, a lot of credibility in the community. They could still use him as like a public figure. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to brief him and saying, hey, this is what we're planning for the future of Elite. Do you want to do a vlog? We're going to sit you down in front of a green screen, record that you and then use use him as like a public outreach figure. But of course now there are the community team that handles those kind of things. But so should he still be making vlogs? Well, it would be nice to see. And you can also, like, there's also the part about stuff that were promised and it was never gonna come. I mean, I'm not sure I would say that it's never gonna happen. I mean, there are frontiers gone in the way that means that some of the stuff may not be technically possible for them at this time. But I also think I recall that they said that they had at least plans for keeping Elite running for, was it 10 years? Meaning that we should still have at least 5 years to go before they begin to consider discontinuing the game, if that still holds true. And even then, I mean, maybe then we're gonna get a follow-up on Elite Dangerous, another game in the Elite franchise. That is also a very definite possibility, because I mean, as the game gets older, some of the core part of the code or the game will of course be lagging behind, will be up to standards to the technologies that people are using in 5 years. So it's a good idea to do a complete refresh of a game from time to time. So yeah, I don't know. I can understand. I would like to see Braven do more vlogs, but I can also understand why he doesn't. So those were the questions I have decided to answer this week. Sorry if your question wasn't in there. I might take some of them up in a future Hello Dave at some point, because there's still a lot of good questions that I haven't been able to squeeze in, because this has already been a very long video. But thanks a lot for watching anyway. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I will see you guys in space.